Well, hello, my daughter. Hello, hello. Happy Father's Day. January 23rd. It's Sunday. I'm relaxing on my couch here, just trying to finish off the weekend and get ready for Monday, you know. Last time we talked, actually the last believe it was last 2 days last 3 days we've covered astronomy. But the last 2 days, I said something to you at the end of my little message, and it was keep looking up, keep looking up. And that was the words of Jack Horkheimer. Jack Horkheimer, he was an astronomer who had a show on PBS. It was the same channel that Sesame Street plays on. And he was an astronomer that he was sick for a very long time, but he worked in Hawaii at one of the telescopes there, and then he worked in Miami, Florida, as an astronomer. But his show, he always would end his show and keep looking up, and he was just a happy guy. He really loved what he did. And he'd always say, keep looking up, keep looking up. Now, of course, he meant that in two ways. He meant keep looking up to the sky, because that's what astronomy does, right? We look at the sky, we look at the moon, which we got to talk about also, and we look for Mercury, which we did talk about. We look for Venus, and then, of course, we can look down or look at ourselves for Earth. But Jack Horkheimer was his name, and he was an influential astronomer to me. There were two other, and he's dead now. He died in 2010, I believe. And there were two others, and they are Carl Sagan, who I mentioned in my last in our last talk. Carl Sagan, I think I appreciated his views on how small the Earth is, and how small we are, and how big the universe is. And I think I appreciated his views on time and how long or short time is. And I appreciated his views on cosmology, which is the study of the cosmos, and astrology. But he had some other weird views that I really didn't. He was kind of too much of a free thinker. He advocated marijuana use. He did a lot of little bohemian type stuff, living in a dome, and he did some other things, and he advocated for global warming, which I don't agree on. But Carl Sagan had a very interesting perspective on religion, on humans, on existence, on how small the Earth is, and where we came from, and I thought that's one reason why I liked him. And then there's Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking, I think, probably the worst thing that happened to him is he became famous. He became too famous. And he is also dead. Carl Sagan has passed away. All three of my favorite astronomers have passed away. But Stephen Hawking was in a wheelchair his entire life. He had Lou Gehrig's disease. And he did some phenomenal things that were based off Einsteinian physics. He was a protege, I guess, or a student of Einstein, and he really studied a lot about quasars and quarks, pulses and centers of energy within the universe, black holes, dark matter, the time-space continuum, and I thought that was heavy stuff. I thought that was a big deal. You have to really be into physics, a lot of physics, to do well with that. And Stephen Hawking he was a brilliant scientist, but he got a little famous there in the end, and at the end of his life, and became quite political. And so, but he wrote a couple books. One was The Universe in a Nutshell, which I thought was a pretty good book. And then Time, Space, and I can't think of his other book now. I'd have to look at it for it, baby. But I've got it. I've got his books, and I've read them. But The Universe in a Nutshell was one of them. And so anyway, those are the three astronomers that I followed a little bit as we kind of go through the solar system here. We've done Mercury, Venus, Earth. We're going to have to do the Moon next, and so we'll cover that, I think, tomorrow. But my three main astronomers were Jack Horkheimer, Carl Sagan, and Stephen Hawking. Paul Davies was in there too. Paul Davies, he was a student of Stephen Hawking's, believe it or not, but he wasn't anywhere near as famous. And so I really enjoyed astronomy as a child. I had a couple different telescopes, one very large one that I still have, and just loved the movies and loved going and loved, you know, learning about the planets and rocketry and the space race and the space shuttle. And those three guys, Jack Horkheimer, Carl Sagan, and Stephen Hawking, were probably the most influential to me growing up. And then Sacred Space Music. They had this show where it was a radio show where you could listen to space music, and it was just kind of funky, weird instrumental music that made you think you were in space. And so I did a lot of that. So that's what I'm sharing with you. That's those are guys that I studied, that I read, that I listened to, that I followed in order to educate myself and become inspired, and then later knowledgeable about our universe. And so I think of them fondly. Actually, I was pretty impressed and enamored with them when I was a kid. All three are gone now, but I'm sharing all of their inspiration to me now with you. And I'm thinking of you. Happy Father's Day, baby. January 23rd, 2022. Keep looking up.